celebrating and confronting. Right? And as we move forward, we call upon our elder statesman, the oldest person on it, we need no further introduction. The youngest person in body, please have my excuse, Mr. Clark, as he comes to address us on the stalwarts, on the walking encyclopedias that we still have amongst us here in St. Kitts. You need my assistance, Mr. Clark? I say you forward with that for real, you don't need no assistance. He will tell you that, you know, to get around. So we pay him our fullest respect and pray that he dispense the knowledge that he has within his brain, and we open our receptacles to the knowledge he has to impart. Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Brother Penny. The Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Denzel Douglas, all the other distinguished members, the Honorable Sam Conjure, Congress Maynard, and all the other distinguished, charming ladies and gentlemen, handsome gentlemen. When I received the invitation to speak at this ceremony here, I was in the process of writing an article for the Labour spokesman. And so I am using some of this, and it was to do with the Buckleys riots. And so I would read excerpts from my article, which is historical, and I would challenge anyone here who believes that I am distorting the historical facts of the 1935 Buckleys riots. Because when I write, I tend to stick to the motto of the newspaper, Titus 2:8, sound speech. I've never had a challenge since I began writing in 1995, but if somebody wants to break that force by challenging me today, they can do so. I would say there is none so blind like him who cannot see, and we will not be able to see if we do not have a glimpse, a glance, a peek, or a complete knowledge of our history. Our history is the compass which navigates us through life. Lack of knowledge of this vital piece of information about ourselves could either relegate us to the garbage heap of our social existence or turn us into twigs floating aimlessly on the sea, lacking direction and being cast hither, thither, and yon by the tide. In today's world, we as black people in St. Kitts should be proud and an impregnable Brimstone Hill fortress of history about ourselves. We should be proud of the fact that because of our 1935 Buckleys Estate riots, we were able to sensitize the whole of the English-speaking territories to rise up and demand political, social, and economic transformation to the whole area. Yes, it was the Buckleys riots which entitled us to form trade unions, political parties, the right to vote, and an 8-hour working day, not only here in St. Kitts, but throughout the whole of the Caribbean. Tiny little St. Kitts led the way. This should make us all walk tall, our every step filled with pride because of this feat. We should be fully aware that in the dark days of our uprising as a people who were intolerant of the oppression heaped upon us, we took it upon ourselves and showed our oppressors and suppressors that we were proud Africans who would not be subjugated. We did not need organizations to fight for our cause because there was none at the time. The onus rested solely on us. We took up the banner and our efforts brought about the required change to our conditions. In those dark days, only 2 organizations came to our assistance. They were the Moravian Church and the St. Kitts Nevis Workers' League. This knowledge of our history should grill home in us the fact that any political organization coming after the 1935 Buckleys riots to say that they're working in our interest are fakes. especially if they come bearing the symbols of those who oppressed us. In the Buckleys riots, a plan was hatched for the assassination of Mr. Thomas Manchester, a white planter whose conscience pricked him to the point where he began treating us as the human beings we were created. And let us go back to 1935, because you see, in 1935, when the riot started at Buckleys, the oppressors and suppressors of our people were housed in the building which presently houses the Democrat newspaper, which is the mouthpiece of the People's Action Movement. And surprisingly, it was also the mouthpiece of the planters, because the planters had a political party called the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party and the Democratic Printery. And so it is quite strange for us to realize that when 30 years after the Buckleys riots, in 1965, Pam emerged on the scene, bearing the symbol, the mouthpiece of the Democratic Party, which was the Democrat newspaper, using that same symbol as its mouthpiece, causing us to realize that the struggle was not over, that our oppressors and suppressors were just coming in a darker shade. Because could anybody walk out the maths for me to tell me why would somebody who is coming, an organization which is coming to assist me, would come with the symbol of those who shot me down in 1935? Could somebody walk out the maths for me? And so, how can Pam say that they're working in the interest of the black working class people when the spokesman, the Democrat newspaper, is a symbol of those who shut us down in 1935? Granny would say, oh gosh man, they ain't got no feeling for us at all. The shame box got to be smashed up. Man, how could they be so brazen and barefaced? You mean to say that they're coming to tell us that they're working in our interest, but they bring the symbol of those who oppressed us to remind us of our inglorious past in order to perform the Liberation Act? Man, this is like pushing a stick in a raw soap. They think that we are so foolish, dunce, and stupid that we cannot see the ploy. Look at it squarely in the face, dear reader. In 1935, the planters' Democratic Political Party, comprising of those persons who were owners and rulers of the land, they were the ones who were oppressing us. These are the very same people we rioted against. They were the ones who ensured that while they had their own political party and could not vote, we who they oppressed and suppressed had no representation. And, in 17 years after the Buckleys riot, 1952, Mr. Bradshaw fought. Mr. Bradshaw and the Workers' League, at that time it had been changed to the Labour Party, and they worked to ensure that the ordinary black man and woman were able to vote in St. Kitts and Nevis. And, the same Democrat, which was the symbol of the oppressors, came out screaming. Just imagine those illiterate people being granted the same authority like us to vote. You hear how they describe us? Just imagine those illiterate people, those can't read people, being granted the same permission, the same authority, the same right to vote like us, the planters who were monarch of all, disobeyed their rights. There was none to dispute. And you know what happened in 1952? The president of the Democratic Party, Mr. Jack Wigley, who owned the Frigate Bay, went up in a plane because they think we're dumb and stupid, started distributing leaflets or dropping leaflets from the plane. and see us running because we had never seen a plane in our lives. That's the first time we had seen a plane in 1952. Oh yes, there was one which landed at Pond's Pasture in the 1940s. But that came from Antigua to bring medicine for the factory manager's son who was sick. And that landed at Pond Pasture. But this one here went around the island dropping leaflets. And because we were amazed at the sight of the airplane flying around, we ran and picked up the leaflets. But the same Mr. Wigley, who was chairman or president of the Democratic Party, had a beach over at Frigate Bay, marked whites only. And the same Mr. Wigley, for us black people to go to Frigate Bay, we had to pay 25 cents. And 25 cents in those days could have given you a dinner. And the same Mr. Wigley ensured that there was a barrier, and once you were white, you could go in free, but once you were black, you had to pay the 25 cents. And you had to go down to the Lille Walwyn to get a ticket in order to be able to gain permission to go to Frigate Bay. And the effort of Mr. Bradshaw caused us to be able to go to Frigate Bay today and bathe as we like, because in 1955, Frigate Bay was acquired because what Mr. Bradshaw thought in those days was that since we are a fertile country, we should preserve the agricultural part of the island and focus our tourist development over in the Frigate Bay area. And we all know what happened in 1973 when Mr. Bradshaw intended to bring Indelco here, how Indelco was run out of the island by those who did not want us to enjoy the same privileges that they enjoy. And the same thing is happening today. We are on the move. St. Kitts is #1 in the Caribbean. But what do we find happening in St. Kitts? We find that there are a gang of people who are going around to ensure that developments in St. Kitts are run out of the country so that the ordinary man and woman would be at the whims and fancies of those who own money. And we must not forget the struggles that the rioters, our brothers and sisters, made in 1935. They made sacrifices so that we could enjoy what we are enjoying today. And it seems as if from this meager crowd here that we really don't appreciate the sacrifices that they made. Look at the meager crowd here. This place should have been packed. But you know, one of the things about black people is that we are ashamed of our history. And we don't want to learn our history. And you know something, our parents who were cane cutters and drain sweepers and domestic servants and who were demeaned by their employers are ashamed and afraid to tell their children how they had it, because they now have flush toilet and they have the kitchen inside the house and they have all the modern amenities of life. And so I hope that by next year that we would have more people becoming conscious of the sacrifices that the rioters of the Buckleys riot in 1935 made for them. Look at our children today. The sons and daughters of cane cutters are medical doctors today. They are engineers. They are teachers with degrees. But we are forgetting who made the sacrifice. And this is our 80th anniversary of the Buckleys riot. And look at the meager crowd. I hope that we would begin to teach the history of the Buckleys riots in our schools. Too long have we been unable to learn our rich history. St. tiny little St. Kitts, led a revolution which went all the way to South America and Jamaica. And we walk with our heads down today. Thank you very much.